So I want to speak more about my experiences with Division III golf than just Rosemont, kind of give everybody the lay of the land. When you think of Division III golf, a lot of people think it's the bottom of the barrel, anybody can go play it, and that's not the case. Division III is very widespread. It's the largest of the divisions at the NCAA level. There's 500 plus schools. Over 350 of them have golf programs. Women's golf is growing ridiculously fast. There's more and more teams popping up every single year. The top teams, both men's and women's, their entire team shoots under par. It takes under par to win every tournament we play in. But the bottom of the teams, there's guys that don't break 100 that play. So there is a team out there for everybody. If you want to play on those top teams competing for national championship, you need to shoot scores under par, right around par. But if that's not where you're at, there is a school for you. So like Cole said before, it's important to be realistic. If you're one of those guys that are not shooting under par, you don't want to waste your time reaching out to those top schools. I tell every recruit two things: that when you go to a school, you want to make sure it's somewhere you can play. You're going there to play golf, to be competitive. You don't want to be sitting the bench just making the team. You want to go somewhere that you can get in those tournaments, be one of those top 5 players, and actually get to play. The other thing I say is you're going to spend a lot of time with your coach, whether you like it or not. It's somebody you're going to be with day in and day out for practice. You're going to have long van rides to tournaments. You're going to spend nights with at hotels, at Airbnbs. Somebody you're going to be around every day, and you need to make sure you can be around them and tolerate them. There's coaches that are young like myself. There's coaches that are much older, and you're going to find a personality that works for you, a coaching style that works for you. On the Division III level, there's very small schools like Rosemont College. There's big schools like Penn State branch campuses, and there's everything in between there. We're lucky that we get to travel a lot. We're going out to California for a tournament, going down to Georgia. We went out to Ohio this fall. There's other teams that stay local. They don't leave an hour of their school. We get to practice 6 times a week. That's the most the NCAA will allow you to. There's other schools that have 1 practice a week. So it's really about what you're looking for, what your goals are, and what you want to accomplish. If you want to play serious golf every day, there's schools to do that. If you want to just be a normal student and get to play a tournament here and there are schools to do that also. So yeah, I think Brad's going to tell you a little bit now about Division I golf, and then we're going to take some questions. It's probably the best way to get stuff across to you guys.
There's a ton of stuff that I could talk about, and I'm sure you have lots of questions. So I'll just kind of take a sort of a big picture look at a couple key things, especially as they relate to Division I. The very first thing I would say off the top is everybody in this room, at least the kids in this room, you're 15, 16, 17, this is one of the first major decisions that you get to make in your life. It's great to have mom and dad help you out, and friends and teachers and guidance counselors, but I as a coach would always want to make sure that I'm communicating directly with the recruit, with the student, which means make sure that you're the one who's sending the emails, making the phone calls. I just think that's a really important thing just to remember off the top. Whether you're looking at Division I or Division III, any school or any recruiting anything you're looking at college-wise, just own the process. That's a really important thing to remember. Be honest with yourself. I would always ask kids when I would meet with them, what do you want out of a college experience? And it's a tough question sometimes to answer when you're 17. And some kids would just be like, well, I want to have a good time. You'd have other kids who would give very detailed answers, and the kids who would give the detailed answers who really knew what they wanted generally would turn out to be better prospects for Division I. It's just, it's an important thing to make, it's important to look at it as a, just tripping over myself words here, sorry. What I'm meaning to say is that golf is not the only thing. You want to make sure that you're looking at other factors when you're choosing a school. I think is really important. I always like to have kids who could be a little bit more well-rounded. I mean, there are kids who simply want to just play golf, but it's good to know, it's good to have other interests and to do other things, and to really look at the entire experience that a college might be offering you. look at golf as a vehicle to get where you want to be. There might be one or two of you in this room that could play professionally. I don't really know that, but more likely it's not going to happen. So use your time as a junior golfer and the resume that you accumulate as a player to get to the college where you want to be and to get to have the college experience that you want. That's an important way of looking at it. Be honest in assessing your ability. John touched that a little bit, Cole talked on that a little bit. And we can dive into that a little bit more, because I'm sure really the big questions for a lot of the guys in the room, for a lot of the guys and girls in the room are, am I good enough to play Division I? How do I get coaches interested in me for Division I? And we can dive into a little bit of that and some of the tips and the tricks for that. But just off the very top, you just have to be honest in assessing your own ability as a player, comparing yourself to other players, looking at scores, going to some places, and we can give you some tips on some things to look at where you can compare yourself to other players, but that's really important off the top. Like John said with Division III programs, that they're not all created equally. It's the same at Division I, which is kind of weird. It was strange for me when I moved into Division I role, as a Division I coach, moving from Division III, I thought, well, everybody's really good. It's not necessarily the case. There can be there's definitely even levels at Division I. So that's a really good thing to keep in mind as you go through the process. Do a lot of research about schools that you're looking at and come armed with lots of questions. If you are fortunate enough to have a coach respond to an email, respond to an inquiry from you, or a coach reaches out to you, do a lot of research about that school and ask a lot of questions about everything about the school. Even if you think it's the dumbest question, don't think it's a dumb question. Make sure to ask the question. The best interviews that I've ever had with kids, the best meetings I ever had with recruits were when the recruits and even the parents came armed with tons of questions. Just great experiences, because I knew that they were really interested in coming to LaSalle if they just had all sorts of questions. And even down to questions, like a question, how many minutes do you have between classes so I can make sure I can walk from one end of the campus to the other? That's fine, Anything that you can think of is a valid question in that process about golf and anything else involving the university. Just make sure that when you're talking to Division I coaches, it's almost like you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. That's how you have to look at it, because it's 4 years of your life. Sometimes it's 5 years of your life. You want to make sure that it's the place that you want to be, that you can really see yourself. So I could tell a lot of stories about instances where I had kids who came and played for me and they realized it wasn't the place for them. And I can look back at the recruiting process and know where things did not happen the way that they should have. So there are some unfortunate stories out there. So that's why I really say to everybody, as a big picture thing, just make sure you're doing your research on the schools that you're looking at and figure out what is the most important thing to you.